Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, the flippening part 2. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, we spoke about this a couple weeks ago, which is why I'm calling it part 2, but in actuality, we've spoken about it many times on the channel. We also have a video on the flippening, 6 or 12 months ago. I don't remember. We also have one, I think, like 2 years ago. The whole idea is that, look, most cryptocurrencies are bleeding against Ethereum, but also Bitcoin is still bleeding against Ethereum. And the thing to take note of, right, is the only cryptocurrency that has a reasonable chance of flipping Bitcoin, at least this market cycle, and probably for a long time, is in fact Ethereum. Now, look, when we talk about this, it naturally elicits a certain type of reaction from some people, right? Where they basically just say, "Oh no, here the Ethereum guys go again, saying that it's going to flip Bitcoin and they're crazy and it's never going to happen." But look, we're just sticking to the data, right? I don't really care about the narrative behind it or whatever. We just look at the data, and it would be foolish, completely foolish, for you to say that it can't happen. And the reason it would be foolish is because it already almost happened last market cycle, right? I mean, it almost happened. That's where it came from. A lot of people assume that the flippening came from the idea back in January of 2018. But no, again, the flippening came when Ethereum rallied against Bitcoin in June of 2017. So I want to talk about one potential scenario that could theoretically play out. So if you're not familiar with what happened in June of 2017, the Ether Bitcoin valuation went to about 0.153. And at the time, the Ether's market cap was at around 36.7 billion, which was not that far removed from Bitcoin's at 44.5 billion. This occurred on June 13th of 2017. But what's interesting, and I think we really need to focus in on here, is that this did not happen near the market cycle peak for Bitcoin. It happened about 6 months before the market cycle peak for Bitcoin. Okay, let's think about that for a minute, right? And we've talked about this before, but we really want to focus on this. Ethereum almost flipped Bitcoin, not at Bitcoin's market cycle peak, but about 6 months before Bitcoin's market cycle peak. Because Ethereum hit this valuation in June of 2017. So in June of 2017, this was where Bitcoin was. It was right here. This was June of 2017. The pullback by Bitcoin to the 20-week SMA in July is actually where the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation started to come back down. And it came back down quick, fast, and in a hurry down to mid-December when Bitcoin went on its own run, when it went on a parabolic run of its own. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, one way to look at this market is to think, well, if Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin, it doesn't actually have to wait for a market cycle peak for Bitcoin to do so. I think the natural inclination would be to assume, well, if it's going to do it, it would have to do it after Bitcoin puts in its own market cycle peak. But as we've showed in this video, it doesn't have to wait till then, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to go flip Bitcoin now, right? I mean, I don't think it's like, it's not about to go do that immediately. But the point is to say that if you think that it has to happen after Bitcoin is put in its market cycle peak, then to some degree you would be ignoring some of the historical data that has suggested that it actually came relatively close to it about 6 months before the market cycle peak of Bitcoin came in. And in fact, the bounce that Ether Bitcoin experienced after December, okay, you could argue is a dead cat bounce of the Ether Bitcoin valuation because we did not put in a new all-time high after that. Ethereum USD still went up a lot, which was great. I mean, everyone loved a $1,400 ETH back then, especially when it was trading for $1 a couple years before. But the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation did not put in a new all-time high. And it was actually the first of a lower high. So we had a high, a lower high, another lower high, another lower high. And then on our channel back in September of 2019, we made a video that said here, a long-term momentum shift of the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation, where we basically said, look, guys, we're getting ready for this move right here, right? We drew these lines back in, I think, 2019, and they've been standing up relatively strong since then, okay? And in fact, since then, we've been riding the upper part of this channel. So what was once resistance, right, has now flipped into support, okay? And we've more or less seen that play out now. So Ethereum Bitcoin's moving up. It just put in another local high today. It's not an all-time high, but it's a yearly high. It's a market cycle high. The last time we were at this level was back here in May of 2018. So I'm looking at this level right now because this is where we had this local top here, okay? And that'll be interesting to watch. But look, Ethereum's valuation against Bitcoin looks relatively strong. Could it come down in the short term? Yeah, it always can. No one knows what's going to happen in the short term. We said it before, it's geometric bounding in motion. It's a random walk. I don't know what's going to happen in the short term. Neither do you. We like to pretend like we do, but we don't. But I would still argue that the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is still likely to trend up for the duration of the market cycle, with some periods where it will likely go down in the short term. But look, this is what we want to talk about. What if Ethereum flips Bitcoin before Bitcoin goes on a parabolic rally to a market cycle peak, right? I mean, I do argue that the way that Ethereum flips Bitcoin is if the market cycle extends for a long time. I've said that for years now. I don't think Bitcoin's market cycle peak is in December of 2021. And I know that's been a popular theory for people to say it is going to happen in December 2021, but I don't think it's going to, right? I mean, obviously now Bitcoin's at 49K, and I think a lot of people are not so much worried about it being a market cycle peak, but they're worried about this being a bear market. But look, I mean, I would still argue Bitcoin has a ways to go. We're having some consolidation again at some of these lower prices. But Ethereum still looks relatively strong, and we need to watch this closely because it is moving up relatively quickly. Okay, so I do imagine if we break through this level, which was this prior resistance over here, 0.1 would likely act as some level of resistance. Now you might say, well, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation isn't really the valuation to look at, right? This is not really the valuation to look at in terms of it flipping Bitcoin. We should really be looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation in terms of the Ethereum market cap divided by the Bitcoin market cap. Why? Because when the Ethereum market cap divided by the Bitcoin market cap is over 1, then Ethereum is flipped Bitcoin. And right now it's at 0.53. So we have a long ways to go. The last time I showed you this chart about a week ago, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation was down here, and we needed to go up another 114.69% to flip Bitcoin. Now, Ethereum Bitcoin only needs to go up about 85% to flip Bitcoin. You can look here at the current valuations and see that Ethereum's market cap is at 494 billion, whereas Bitcoin's is at 931 billion. So, I mean, it's certainly less than a 2x, right? It's less than a 2x now. As you can see, I mean, it's over 0.5, right? We're at 0.53. So this is the chart to watch, my friends, right? I mean, an 85% move. Is it going to do it this month? Probably not, right? Is it going to do it next month? Probably not either. But if the cycle is going to lengthen, which is what our thesis is, okay, then I don't see why it can't happen. Now, the reason why it's important that the cycle lengthens is because some people are calling for a multi-year bear market and saying that Bitcoin's just going to go down to $10,000 and we're going to be range bound for 2 or 3 years, and then we're going to trend up again later on. If that were to happen, I have a hard time seeing Ethereum stay super healthy. But our thesis, or I should say, my thesis has been for a long time that the market cycle should lengthen well beyond 2021. Okay, well beyond 2021. And if that's the case, then Ethereum can still remain relatively bullish if the market cycle is going to continue on and Bitcoin at least is going to stay somewhat healthy. Okay, so with that in mind, let's watch what Ethereum does. I mean, against the US dollar, Ethereum has been following this. I mean, we showed this line before. I don't even know where it is stacked up again based on this recent drop. It's more or less holding where we would want it to hold. But furthermore, forgetting the line for a minute, we're actually above the bull market support band still. The Ethereum valuation against the US dollar is still above the bull market support band. So, could we get some continued consolidation in this area? Yeah, for sure, especially if Bitcoin kind of goes back down. If it goes back down like 47K, if it goes back down even lower, I mean, of course, Ethereum's USD valuation is going to continue to pull back and test some lower levels again. But it still does look relatively strong. I've argued for a long time that Ethereum is in long reaccumulation, and it's now at 4150. I mean, guys, we were at these prices literally last week. This is not that bad of a drop for Ethereum. Okay, it's at 4153. We're still above the weekly closes back from May of 2021 at the all-time high for ETHUSDT. I mean, we're not above the actual all-time high from back then, but we're above the weekly closes back then when we closed at 39.26, and then the following week we actually closed back down at 35.93. We're actually at 41.56 right now. Ethereum looks incredibly good, okay? And I think it's at least worth considering, if your mind has been closed off to it in the past, that Ethereum could flip Bitcoin. Now, what's interesting though, if we were to take that further out, is imagine this scenario. Imagine the cycle goes on, okay? And I'm talking deep into 2022. I'm not saying we're going to just go into January and call it a day. No, let's imagine, right? Expand your mind on the idea that maybe the cycle's still a long way to go, like we've said before. And I even said it could go into 2023 for all we know, right? We've shown the Arrhenius plot. If you plot one over time against the peaks, it looks like it could go into 2023 as well. Let's take it one step at a time, okay? Let's imagine this scenario for a minute. Just, buckle up, okay? So let's imagine the cycle goes on for a while, and Ethereum's valuation against Bitcoin goes through this phase like it did back in 2017, okay? Where we went up in June of 2017. Now, what if Ethereum did something similar like that again? And this rally here started in December, actually, right? This rally here started in December, and this one started in October. Okay, so what if we get a scenario where Ethereum rallies against Bitcoin for off and on? I'm not saying monotonically up, but off and on for many months to come, right? Going well into 2022. Okay. And then going into the the merge and everything. What if we see this happen, and then it flips it? Like it'd be crazy, right? I mean, it'd be absolutely ridiculous if that happened. And let's say it happens in something like mid 2022 or something. Okay, think about that. Maybe then that's when Bitcoin goes on a journey. Okay, that's what happened in 2017. I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. I wanted to at least discuss it with you guys, get your thoughts on it. I mean, obviously the chances that plays out exactly like that are slim to none, but we cannot discount the fact that Ethereum's valuation against Bitcoin's all-time high was actually about 6 months before Bitcoin's market cycle peak. Maybe Bitcoin does peak in December, but maybe it's December of 2022, right? Maybe it's January of 2023 or something. I don't know. I mean, we've looked at all sorts of possibilities. We've said since 2019, I've said the cycle could extend out into 2023. There's no hard and fast rule that we have to end in 2021. I think this pullback proves it, right? I mean, I know people are going to argue, well, no, this is the bear market, Ben. You're holding on to a pipe dream at this point that the cycle is going to continue to lengthen. But I said earlier this year, we're probably going to not make it to 100K in 2021 for Bitcoin, right? We're probably not going to make it to 100K. So if that's the case, and we're in consolidation for a while, and then Bitcoin has to, prove itself for months to come, what if Ethereum does its own journey? It goes up against Bitcoin, going well into 2022. Maybe it flips it, but what if it's temporary? Like, what if it does something like that, where it goes up, maybe it flips it, does something like this, and maybe it does it quicker than that, right? There's a lot of maybes in this video, I know. But I'm just thinking, or I'm thinking out loud here, something like that, right? And it seems like the most crazy thing in the world to imagine. I think everyone's like, what the hell is going on, right? Instead of Bitcoin is king, Ethereum is king, right? And instead of Bitcoin's the store of value, Ethereum says, I'm the store of value now. And then it goes back, right? And then maybe after it flips it, Bitcoin says, hold my beer, and pulls a stunt where it takes it back, right? And you might see something I mean, obviously, it's not going to be as dramatic because the move up won't be as dramatic, but something like that. I mean, this is just pure speculation, my friends, right? It's dubious speculation. No one's going to cash this in at the bank, but it would be kind of somewhat poetic, right? If everyone's always thought that 2021 is a carbon copy of 2017, and we've said no, 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 it's not. If anything, it looks like a stretched out version of 2013. And some people have drawn that comparison about after it already had the intermediate peak. Maybe 2022 emulates 2017 some, and I mean it won't be an exact carbon copy, so I'm not saying that, but that would be certainly interesting if it were to play out something like this, where maybe it does flip Bitcoin in the middle of next year, and then it seems like we're in this new paradigm shift, and then Bitcoin goes on a rally into the end of 2022, and then we see something like this play out into early 2023, where maybe if Ethereum, it seems like it's going to flip it again, but then maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe it doesn't quite make it there. But the USD valuation could still be going up because the Bitcoin valuation will still be going up. I don't know. I'm just sort of speculating out loud here, and it's nice to have an audience that is here to dubiously speculate with me. I thought this was an interesting idea, especially considering that the market cycle peak for Ethereum did not correspond to the place where Ethereum almost flipped Bitcoin. So do I think Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin this month or next month? No. But if it continues to stay strong going into the merge later on in 2022, then it could become a possibility. And I do think it would be absolutely foolish if you close your mind off to the idea that Ethereum could in fact flip Bitcoin, at least temporarily, this market cycle. Okay? So thank you guys for tuning in. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, check out the Telegram channel. We also do the premium list into thecryptoverse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Click the bell icon, turn on notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.